picture in the gallery of Aurora. She was 24 days. You saw her earlier. But I thought I would do a quick tutorial showing you how to change the colour, or how I change the colour in Photoshop. There are a billion ways of doing this. You know, if you YouTubed it, you'd find so many variants in doing this. And, you know, depending on the picture, I might choose a different way another time. So I'm going to give this one a go, and this is how I do it. But I'm going to just do a quick edit, and I am also going to use a couple of other actions from the LSP, just because it's good to experiment and try different ones, especially if you're in a bit more of a rush and you've got loads of editing to do like I've done. You know, maybe there's just a quick one that you can do to speed up things. Right, so this process is still going to be the same for me, just using the healing brush tool and just whizzing over her skin there, and that looks absolutely fine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of a purple hue, just a tiny bit. There's some yellow in here, so I'll be able to use that to change that to purple. I'm going to use the adjustment layers, so I'll click on here, then the hue and saturation layer, click on the yellows, and then drag the hue slider over to the left. So there we go. So this is before and after. If it's a little bit too much, you can drop the saturation down on it. You can still see it. Okay, and that is actually going to change everything that's yellow. So we just have to make sure that we're happy with everything that is changed. So it's changed here. There was some yellow in the yellow in the basket, but I'm okay with that being changed. And it's altered this part here, but that doesn't matter because we're going to change that anyway. Right, I'm going to flatten this now. And I'm going to carry on here. In her eyelids, there's some purple, some red, so we're going to need to address that. I mean, you can keep it as it is. I don't mind the red, actually. I leave it in more and more now, but the purple isn't quite so good, and it's not a reflection of this because it was in her other images, but maybe it hasn't helped. It looks like she's got a little purple eyeshadow on, actually. It looks quite sweet. So I'm going to go into actions and do, what should I do? I think that I am still going to go in here, click on the layers, and then do the soft skin 100%. You don't have to do 100%, you could do whatever percentage you like, but for her I am going to do 100%. I just do little sweeps over the eye. Quite often I don't even do the eyelids, but just to smooth them out just a tiny bit, with her anyway. And then just with brushing strokes under here, on her little baby chin. That's it, it's come away. So if you feel like you've taken away too much detail, you can either lower the opacity, so before, and then, you know, maybe come halfway, or pop it back up to 100%, and then switch this to black, lower the opacity, and just bring it back in some of those areas where you feel that it's removed just too much of the character that's in her face, which is quite often near the edges. Now I don't like that, you see, so I've done the eyes, and I don't normally do the eyes, so I've just taken it off the eyes now. Alright. It's because it darkens it a bit. And then just maybe just background here. Okay. reduce the reds. I would say that there's the reds, you know, there's not many reds in her skin, just on her eyes. So I'm going to bring this opacity down to 30 and just pop it over. You have to be careful here, we don't do too much. Alright, so I think I've reduced the reds now. And then bring back the detail, keep it at 30%. You can make it higher, increase the opacity if you want to, if you're not really noticing the difference. And I wouldn't notice it because it's on black. Alright, so we're just going to go over here. And then on a little lip in this instance. Okay. And flatten. I'm just going to use the healing tool here. Alright, that's fine. Then my Skin Deblotch by Totally Rad. I'll try 100%. And that's all I'm going to do there. And flatten. Now I'm going to take a look at the purples. And LSP do have a Go Away Purple action, which is here. And just going to select the brush tool. And then I'm just going to do 100% just to see what it does. Right, so you can see there it actually does a really good job, but it's on the green yellow side. So I'm just going to go back here, drop the opacity down to about there, and then just go over the purple areas. So on this side it looks a little bit more on the green, so I'm just going to take that off there. Going back again, lower the opacity. Right, let's see before and after. And I'm going to flatten, and then I'm just going to try the Lift Grey eye sockets. I might try the red. It's a difficult one. I don't know which way to go actually, if I'm really being honest. So I'll try reduce the reds just a bit more. So I'm 22%. Just up it to 42. Let's just see what happens here. Okay. Maybe a bit more there. Alright. And then I'm just gonna go return some of what I took off underneath the lashes here. Alright, let's go back here. So it's definitely reduced the reds now, which is really good. Still looking a little bit on the purple side, but that will sort itself out, I think. What I am going to do is I'm going to duplicate the layer and go to the Dodge and Burn tool, select the burn, go to shadows. So 15% for shadows is actually quite high, and I am, oops, go back to the burn tool, and I'm just going to go over these lashes here. She had such dainty features. Use a steady hand. So I'm just darkening this little area here along the lashes just to define them a little bit more, and like that. Right, and then flatten, go back into actions, and then I think that I should try Lift Grey eye sockets. So I'm going to do this, lower the opacity right down to about 20 to 25%, And let's just see what this does. Just lighten them a little bit. Is it worth doing it? Yeah, probably. I'm going to flatten that. And now I'm just going to try Peachy Skin Magic by LSP. I think I'd like a very low opacity, under 20%, I'm not sure, but just to see. It's quite nice actually, but I think I would bring it back in some areas so that it's only in certain areas on the face, so it doesn't remove the shadow, like some of the shadow. And just bring a little bit on her eyes, bring back a little bit on her chin. I quite like it, I'm going to keep it. Right. And then we could try Eyelid Smooth and Lift. So let's have a go at this one. Oops. I'm going to lower the opacity right down and then just go over, just smooth this out a little bit. Again, you don't have to, but it's good to try out new actions. You might find one that you absolutely love and then use it every single time. Like flatten. And I'll find my add depth. You're probably screaming at the screen saying it's there, it's there. Quite often I have it selected already and then I spend 5 minutes looking for it. Okay, whack this up to 100% just to see what it does. Right, I like that. I'm just going to bring it back down, select somewhere about there. Okay, and flatten. I am now going to fix these areas before I change the colour. So I'm just going to choose a colour which is close, add a new layer, 100%, and then I'm just going to paint. It starts to get a bit lighter here, so lower the opacity and then just blend it in a little bit. And then over here goes into the shadow, so 100% is fine. I'm painting this in here, and I'm doing it all on this, what was an empty layer, so that if I make a mistake I can easily erase it and it's not destroying the original image. Means I can just keep going back and changing it if I want to. So already that looks a lot better. So I can see that I have gone over some of the fur there, so I'm just want to make sure. Alright, so now I'm happy with that. I'm going to flatten. I'm going to duplicate the layer. Then go to the patch tool, select this triangle down here, drag it up, and now that's blended nicely. And this area is a bit bigger, so we have to do it in stages. Just keep going until you're happy with how it's blended. Right, so before and after. Now that looks really good. Flatten. So I'm going to change this pink into purple. I mean, I actually think it looks quite nice in pink, but I might do both. The image might look on the cool side with the purple, but it's good to know how to do it if you want to. Right, so I'm just changing the crop and putting her more central, and I'm making sure, oops, I'm just gonna escape out of there. Gonna make sure that this is on, the crop is on front image so it doesn't make the image bigger or smaller. Then I'm gonna make sure the content aware icon is clicked and selected, and then I'm just going to bring her up and then over to the left just a bit. Right, let's see how that looks. And as if by magic, hopefully it does a good job. There we go. Wonderful. So let's have a look at before and after so far. So this is before and this is after. So little changes, but they make a big difference. All right. Okay, so in this instance, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to save it because I like it in pink to start with. And then I'm going to do File, Save As. And I'm going to call this one Purple. I tend to do this if I'm experimenting or if I like the first image and I want to have an alternative and then maybe go back to the first one. I can actually see now there's a bit of yellow there. So I'm going to go to Adjustment, Hue and Saturation, select the yellows, and now I'm just going to see where those yellows are. There you go. You can see it more here. I'm just, some yellow's fine, but it was kind of standing out to me, so I'm just going to bring them down. So I've just moved the yellows to the orange, to the like peachy, more peachy colour. Now to change this to pink, the way I'm going to do it is use an adjustment layer. So I'm going to click here, then I'm going to choose the hue and saturation, then the reds, and now I'm going to play with these three sliders to see if I can get a close match to this purple here. So the first one would be the hue slider. So I'm going to take it until I get to a purple. That's definitely purple. Now I'm going to bring the saturation down because, so it's actually not affecting this. This has pretty much stayed the same. It looks like it's changing because we're changing the outside colour. But I'm going to bring the saturation down to about there. And also the lightness down. Because it was a pale light, it was a lilac, it wasn't purple. So I'm going to bring that down to about -20. Okay. And so obviously it's done the whole image, so I need to just take it off of her face. So now I'm making sure that I'm on this layer mask. I'm going to select the brush tool and switch this to black, which will now remove everything here. I'm just going to Control Z and undo that again. So just do her face. And her hands. And the teddy, because I think it's just a little bit too much. It did change that a bit. And let's have a look before and after. And now I'm just going to zoom in because you can see here It's on her little face, so I'm just going to take it off there. Make sure there's nothing overlapping the areas where I don't want it to be. Okay, I had to Control Z that because it was taking it off the background. Right, let's have a look. So before and after, that's a pretty purple. And I would probably just keep it that way. I think it looks actually really quite nice. But if I felt it was a bit too bright, then I can double click on back on here, which will bring up the hue saturation panel, so I can do some changes. And this is just, now I've removed all the areas I don't want to be included. When I do, and when I move any of these sliders up here, it's just going to change this area. It's not going to change her face and her hands because I removed that from the mask. So if I wanted to, I could bring this down so it's a bit more subtle. So let's have a look. Oh, I quite like it like that actually. So it's on -25 to remember that. Oh, we got a soft grey. So you can have some fun doing these things. So I'm going to do -25. The only way I see it is if I go back and go like this. It doesn't really look much different, does it? -25. Yeah, maybe we'd have to go to there. Let's take it back to 0. Aha, okay, now I can see it. Right, so I think it was -25, wasn't it? Take it a little bit further to about -27. There we go. That looks pretty. So I'm going to flatten this now, and I'm just going to select her face, do Command L, and yep, there's a bit of room there to brighten her face, but I am not going to do that because well, you could do that. So if I wasn't going to use any of the finishing layers, I would probably leave it like that. I would just brighten up her face like this, and then check the whole image, so which can go to about there, and I would duplicate the layer, filter and liquify. I'm perfectly happy with how round the baby's wrap is. That went nicely, and also it's the angle as well, which helps make it look nice and round. I'm just going to bring these little fluffy bits out a bit so it matches the other side, so it looks all indulgent and beautiful and fluffy. You can do some puffing out using this one. And see, bring that in there a little bit. And you can do some swirlies. Let's see. So if you feel like it's all going in one direction, you can just change it up a little bit. So let's have a look. I'm going to undo those little swirlies. Alright, that's fine, I think. Right, so let's have a look at before and after, and click OK. Before and after, flatten, and then Control L, and then that would be it. But for me, I go down and we can try the add depth again. I can't remember if I did that one, but I think I did, but sometimes I go over twice, you know, like that. But I am going to go down to the Matty actions, and I select them all and then have a little play. Just turn them all off. Oh, and then I just have a look through and see which one I really like. That I like Matty 9, but it just, you have to choose which one works best with each image, because every image is so different. It plays with certain colours. So this is Matty 6. They're all lovely actually. Matty 3. So Matty is the strongest one, but I quite liked these ones up here. So I liked Matty 9 or Matty 7. Oh, I end up going backwards and forwards like all the time. Oh my god, I can't decide. Oh no. Right. I am gonna go with Matty 7. And then I'm just gonna drop it down, bring it up, that's it. And I'm very happy with that. I'm gonna flatten and check my levels again. That is fine. Increase some saturation, so bring it up to about 10, and then file save, and that would be my finished image. So I'm obsessed with yellow, aren't I? Right, and this is before and after. Before and after. So there you go.